Hello and welcome back to An Old Man Watches. Today I'm going to be talking about Studio Ghibli's 2001 animated fantasy adventure Spirited Away, which was written and directed by animation industry legend Hayao Miyazaki. And the film opens with 10-year-old Chihiro and her parents driving to their new house. Chihiro is less than thrilled about moving and giving her parents a fair bit of attitude about the whole thing. When her father takes a wrong turn and they end up in a deserted complex of buildings somewhere in the woods, Chihiro's agitation increases. When her parents find piles of delicious food at what appears to be her market stall, they sit down to eat and wave away Chihiro's concerns about getting in trouble. We'll pay for the food before we leave, we're not stealing. Chihiro, however, declines to eat and instead wanders off, meeting a young boy, Haku, who warns her that she's strayed into the spirit world. She must get her parents and leave as soon as she can. This warning comes too late, however. When she returns to her parents, Chihiro finds they have been turned into pigs. Now, trapped in the spirit world, Chihiro must find a way to break the curse on her parents before they get turned into bacon and get them all home safely. I mean, how hard can that be? All she has to deal with is a wicked witch, stink spirits, a ravenous monster, and a dragon. Should be nothing to it, right? So writer-director Hayao Miyazaki conceived this film because he wanted to make a movie that would appeal to his colleague's 10-year-old daughter, but that wouldn't feature on traditionally feminine girl themes like crushes and fashion and other such things that society dictates are what girls should be interested in. I'm not sure he was entirely successful in this regard. I think he's avoided some traditionally gendered themes, but unconsciously left in others. But then this is a more than 20-year-old film, after all, and awareness of unconscious gender bias was probably a lot less common back then. And I don't want to suggest that the film isn't good. Quite the opposite, in fact. It's a beautifully animated, it has a good blend of humour, emotion, and action, and it's thoroughly entertaining to watch, which I rather expected going in, to be honest. While I've not seen every film Miyazaki's ever made, I have seen 9 of them, and even the one I liked the least was still quite good. Spirited Away sits comfortably above that. So let's dig into the film a little more and discuss some of its specific elements. So most of the movie is set in the spirit world, which, as you might imagine, is rather different from our own mundane reality. It's much less wild and strange than some dreamscape or fey realms you may have seen in other media, but it is populated by many inhuman creatures whose physiology and outlook is very different to our own. Chihiro, or Sen, as she is known in this world, will meet witches, dragons, river spirits, shadow creatures, and what look basically like intelligent soot smudges, amongst other creatures, while she's here. And that gives the Studio Ghibli team full rein to showcase their beautiful animation, which they do to great effect. Like a lot of their output, Spirited Away is filled with rich, engaging visuals that evoke a genuine sense of wonder. Now, this is not always entirely safe, uncomfortable wonderment. Some of the things Sen encounters in this world are strange and intimidating, but they're always interesting, dynamic, and in many cases winsome and clever. Sen herself is also a likeable character. The responsibility thrust upon her sees her grow from the truculent, selfish child Chihiro into a thoughtful young woman. It's good stuff. Nice character arc. Now, there are several themes that Miyazaki's films often feature: environmentalism and reverence for nature, a passion for flight and flying machines, and an emphasis on the power of collaboration and compromise as a way to solve problems rather than confrontation and force. Also, intimidating female characters who initially seem to be antagonists but who turn out to be more complicated in their motivations than they initially seemed to be. All of these elements are present in Spirited Away, but they are generally included in ways that are, I think, a bit more subtle and nuanced than his earlier works. The costs of pollution and development, for instance, are shown and have significance within the story, but they're not didactically called out in the character dialogue. They just kind of exist as a thing for you to draw inference from. The power of collaboration and compromise, in particular, is very much a focus of the movie. The main character's growing confidence and success in her efforts to free herself and her parents are very much a result of and built upon her growing willingness to meet the needs and perspective, to listen to the needs and perspectives of those she meets, and to attempt to meet them halfway. Only by ceasing to be the selfish, self-absorbed, morose child Chihiro can she become the young woman Sen and save the day. The film smartly just shows this development for the main part. Sen's positive, helpful actions to others proves to generally have positive, helpful consequences for her. But the script does that gracefully without belabouring the point in some stuffy, self-righteous sermon about treat others as you would, like to be treated yourself. It just shows that working. It's well done stuff. So, is there anything I'd call out as a potential issue with the film? Really only that it may not be the best starting point for watching Miyazaki's work if you've never done so before. If you're a complete neophyte to Studio Ghibli films, then I think perhaps starting something like Castle in the Sky might be a better big place to begin. For one thing, that film has a more familiar action-adventure plot structure. For another, Spirited Away draws heavily on Japanese mythology, folklore, and spiritualism, which is likely not as familiar to most people in the English-speaking audience. I certainly don't feel like it's a difficult or inaccessible film, mind you, but it is one filled with lots of elements whose full significance may not be apparent to a Western audience. Starting with an earlier film will also help underline the increasing depth and deftness of Miyazaki's narrative work and allow a new viewer to go into the film with confidence that the journey will be worth a little early confusion. Yeah, when you go into the spirit world, you should expect things to be a little unusual and to take some time to adjust to, after all. Overall, I think Spirited Away is a very well executed film and well worth checking out. Next time, from Winsome Wonder to the extremes of 70s sleaze, the deliberately gross and shocking Slave of the Cannibal God from 1978. Lots of content warnings on this one, folks, which I'll cover at the beginning of the next video. But is next time. Until then, thanks for watching this video, and I hope you enjoyed it.